I'm Adam Ferguson. I'm the 2013 president of Leadership Morgan Hill. On behalf of the entire board of directors, thank you to everyone for being here. This is a tremendous turnout. Some of you out there may be wondering what Leadership Morgan Hill is. Beyond throwing really good parties, we also do some serious things. And to give you an idea of what we do, Leadership Morgan Hill is a 9-month program. There are 20 to 25 people per year that go through the program. Our mission is to ignite the passion, inspire the commitment, and sharpen the skills of the leaders who will create a dynamic Morgan Hill. And I think by the turnout tonight, that's a reflection that our community agrees with what it is we're trying to do. Our class learns state, regional, and local government. They learn about economic development, public safety, health and human services. They learn about our environment, the history of our town, and many other things, and we hope that when they leave, they're equipped to get out into our community, to impact the community, and hopefully aspire to be somebody like Mike Cox, tonight's honoree. Leadership has more than 300 alumni in our community, and that number grows every year. This year we will graduate another 20 students in September. Our classes run January through September. Can I get a show of hands? How many people here are alumni? Pretty good. Mayor Tate, alumni, everybody see that? So we're here to honor Mike Cox. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew what it is we're doing here tonight. This is not just an opportunity to honor a very deserving recipient of today's award. This is also our fundraising event, our primary fundraising event for Leadership Morgan Hill. This is what allows us to operate. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for your generosity.
We talked about Mike Cox's tenacity. He built a wonderful, wonderful business in anaerobe systems, and he built that through establishing his reputation in the microbiology scientific field. And we're going to learn a little bit more about Mike in his science in microbiology from Ellen Jo Barron. She's Professor Emerita at Stanford University and has really an extensive background. For 15 years, she was the director of a microbiology laboratory that serviced both the Stanford Medical Center and the Packard Hospital. She has written and edited many textbooks and has over 100 published journal articles. Distinguished educator at Stanford. Currently executive director of technical support for I'm not sure I pronounce this, Cepheid, which makes all kinds of medical devices that are better, faster diagnostics and things like that. So we're going to hear now from Ellen Jo. Thank you.
Well, I'm just so thrilled and honored to be able to speak a little bit about Mike Cox. So we've just finished having an elegant dinner with very beautiful, lovely place settings. And when I first met Mike in 1981, he had just created another kind of placemat. And it's a sort of a placemat you would not want to be eating off of. And this is a picture of one of the kind of placemats he made, which is a teaching tool for students where we actually put petri dishes with bacteria on the placemats and had people go around the table and do some small studies on the organisms and learn how to identify them. So these were teaching students how to learn about anaerobic bacteria, the bacteria that Mike has made his life's work. And those are bacteria that do not survive in the presence of oxygen. So we are all breathing oxygen. The anaerobes that he studies live in our guts and in the gingival crevices and all kinds of unmentionable parts of people. I don't know if that says anything about Mike's interest, but we're not going there. So I wasn't going to roast you, Mike, it just happened. So Mike's creativity and his focus on excellence are reflected in the products he produces at Anaerobe Systems. And these are for helping scientists to diagnose infections caused by anaerobic bacteria. And one of the first inventions he made was an anaerobic chamber, which is a way to work with these organisms, isolating them from the air. And humans size box like this with holes for your arms to go in and work inside this atmosphere without oxygen. And his innovation was to allow you to work with your bare hands. Prior to Mike, all these kinds of anaerobic chambers were called glove boxes, and they had these big plastic gloves that were very difficult to manipulate, and you really couldn't do good anaerobic microbiology, and so nobody did it. And since he started doing it, everybody does it. So when I first visited his factory many years, well, not everybody, those of us who work in such areas, I was astounded to see an enormous production line making microbiological petri dishes and media completely encased in a clear plastic tunnel, inside of which was an atmosphere devoid of oxygen. I had never seen anything like that. And when these reagents and microbes, the reagents and media come off the end of the production line, they're encased in silver foil bags and sealed again in the anaerobic atmosphere so that they can be shipped to all parts of the world. And when the laboratory microbiologists open up the package, that media is just as fresh as when it was made in the factory. And this was absolutely earth-shaking. And this pioneering change in the production of media resulted in people being able to use these media as superior culture results. We grew organisms out of his media that had never been grown before from human infections. The latest factory, the one in Morgan Hill, you could all go visit it. I'm sure Mike would be thrilled to have you come, is a classroom for cutting-edge automation, robotics, and efficiency. So the glove box chamber and the anaerobic media, completely anaerobic from production to delivery, were innovations that allowed microbiologists to do clinical laboratories in hospitals all over the world to do the kind of microbiology they had never been able to do before and diagnose infections that they had never been able to do before. Physicians, up until Mike's two major innovations, were forced to guess what is the nature of the organism causing this disease and what antibiotics should I use to treat it. And now they don't have to. His products contribute to saving lives every day. So Mike's support of inventiveness, dedicated to science education, have been another defining aspect of his professional service. Besides the placemats, he developed among the very first digital learning environments, which is still available, with high-resolution, dazzlingly crisp images, and he always is interested in the latest new scientific toy, and I don't know if you've seen that binocular thing that Wayne is going around. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. This is like, okay, Mike, this is your latest toy. So he has traveled the world to present these wonderful scientific workshops for students and professionals who then go on and teach their students. And almost always they were provided for free, costs covered by Anaerobe Systems and Mike. And he supports many other continuing education programs for the local and the National American Society for Microbiology and many other scientific organizations. And he and Mary have made it a priority to socially introduce microbiologists from all over the world to each other at various events at these national and international meetings. And I might mention that Steve Cox is now taking on the mantle of organizing the dinners, and he's doing a wonderful job. So I have productive collaborations now with microbiologists from Greece, Egypt, Scandinavia, and China, just to name a few places, and all of those because we were introduced by Mike Cox at dinners that he and Mary hosted. Every prominent figure in our discipline knows and loves Mike Cox, or wishes that he knew Mike Cox. And his generosity and inclusiveness are legendary, and both we and our patients benefit. I believe that Mike Cox makes us all better microbiologists as we strive to live up to his standards and his expectations. So thank you, Mike.
You know, Morgan Hill is a great community. People love living here. And one of the reasons that it's so great is because we have so many people in this community that are willing to pitch in and work to make the community better. That is community building. And we have a leader among those people within the Morgan Hill community in Mike Cox. We are going to this is a world premiere, folks. You're going to hear a world premiere. Before Sherry comes up, you're going to hear a world premiere of a song.
And the name of the bacteria is Pectoniphelus coxii. The coxii part is Mike. Well, it occurred to me that that's probably not so easy to remember. But my goal tonight is to have everybody under this tent know that name, remember it, and be able to say it just like that. And so I wrote a song about Mike's anaerobe. And the song is called Pectoniphelus coxii, and it's done to the tune of Davy Crockett. Now my sound man has set up a very elaborate thing over here for me, so I'm going to go over there. Okay, if you would like to follow along, the words are on the back of your program. And I want to apologize in advance to the band because after they hear this, they're going to say, well, how can I follow that? So, I'm going to run through the chorus one time and I'm going to ask your help. This is how it sounds. Pectoniphelus coxii. All right. Do it with me. Everybody. Let's try it one time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Pectoniphelus coxii. Wow. Oh, God. Yeah, cheers. Wow, that's great. All right. Here goes the song. Now Mike Cox is the man for me. We're here to honor his legacy. He's a model of leadership for the community. But I got a new fact that you just got to see. Everybody. Pectoniphelus coxii. Once again. Pectoniphelus coxii. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Well, anaerobe systems is Mike's baby. He makes petri dishes that are all gooey. He sells them to the medical industry so they can do their scientific study. Everybody, Pectoniphelus coxii. One more time. Pectoniphelus coxii. They're having their own party over there. Just a minute. Yes, this lives above that's really hard to find. It lives in infections almost all the time. But Mike Cox said, this bug is mine, and they'll name it after me. It's just a matter of time. Pepto-Nicholas, Pepto-Nicholas Cox. See ya one more time. Pepto-Nicholas, Pepto-Nicholas Cox. See ya. Now who else do you know that can make that claim? There's a real bacteria that bears his name. Now Mike's in the Anaerobic Hall of Fame, and he makes pretty good bread too. Pepto-Nicholas, Pepto-Nicholas Cox. See ya last time, sell it. Pepto-Nicholas, Pepto-Nicholas Cox. See ya.
As I was saying, I was in the process of introducing Sherry Hemingway. Sherry, come on up. As I was pointing out, Sherry is a graduate of Leadership Morgan Hill, the year 2001. She is also a recipient of the Leadership Excellence Award. She was awarded in 2008. She's a member of the Morgan Hill Rotary Club, and she will tell you about Mike Cox in the community. Sherry.
Today that I realized that I had to go from germs to food. So that's my transition. I'm going to talk about food a lot, and what I'm going to do is talk about Mike and what he means to this community. And for all of you folks out there, I hope I really do justice to all of you, because I know how much you love this guy. But for those of you who don't know the man we're honoring tonight, you may have a hard time connecting the concepts of barbecuing and entertaining with leadership and philanthropy. But I assure you there is a connection. In fact, the Mike Cox model for fundraising and building community may rank among Mike's best inventions. You see, there are easy and there are hard ways to be a philanthropist. Simple, for those who can do it, would be writing a check for $2,000 for a sponsorship. It would be easy, it would be generous. But Mike and Mary don't do things the easy way. So what they do would be hard for most of us, and it's the way they do it. They take the $2,000 and spend it on groceries. Then they open up their beautiful home, personally cook and serve a gourmet meal to 200 guests, and turn it into a charity event that brings it up to 10 times the money. And they do it again and again and again. The Mike and Mary philanthropic model. The Mike and Mary philanthropic model has benefited such organizations as Morgan Hill Community Foundation, Friends of the Morgan Hill Library, AAUW, Rotary Club of Morgan Hill Historical Society, and many science and education programs. Mike graduated in the class of 2005 of Leadership Morgan Hill, the organization we are supporting tonight. Now, if you attended the leadership event last year when Rosie Bergen was being honored, it was at the Kiala Estate, and you may not know the story behind that delicious food. Because with Mike's leadership, his friends, people he coerced, his relatives, his foodie comrades, vendors, and 14 members of his own crew, they provided the support for 300 people to dine very well last year. You can clap for the food, but the important part is that night the Cox and Kiala partnership saved Leadership Morgan Hill $20,000 in expenses, enough to put 8 candidates through the program this year. That's what Mike and Mary do. And lest you think that Mike's cooking and entertainment model is just for VIPs, know that Mike is an equal opportunity chef. He financially underwrites the entire Morgan Hill Youth Leadership Program, and when the kids graduate, he invites all those hungry teenagers to his house for paella and marinated filet mignon. And speaking of that ubiquitous marinade, the recipe is in this book that they're selling back there with Mike's favorite recipes, and they're selling out Mike's bread recipe and Mike's marinade tonight. Now, Mike and Mary also do celebrations, almost monthly. When groups like the 4th of July Committee or the Centennial Honor Volunteers or celebrate a local achievement, the Cox crew will host a gourmet meal for them. No one ever sees a bill. Mike is a member of Rotary Club of Morgan Hill, where members pledge their time, treasure, and talent for good work. Or in other words, be like Mike. Serve on boards, sponsor everything, and teach what you know. Tonight, we got Mike to hang up his apron, and so that we could hang a medal on him. Because Mike's greatest gift, the one that truly lasts, is bringing people together. Mike innately understands that when people break bread together, and hopefully it's his own homemade bread, there's an excellent possibility they will bond and unite for the common good. Yes, Mike cooks, but what he really does is build community. So Mike Cox, on this, your night, your very grateful community thanks you.
We're going to go from Mike Cox in the community to Mike Cox with the youth. And we have a great speaker to tell you about Mike Cox with the youth, because she is a youth herself. She's an accomplished speaker. I know that because just several weeks ago she gave the valedictorian speech as a graduate of Live Oak High School. She's worked for Mike for 3 years now and is on her way to Stanford University next year. So here's Amber Thomas to tell you about Mike Cox and the youth.
I would like to start by saying thank you to the event committee for allowing me the honor to speak about a man that has helped me develop as an academic, a leader, and a person. Without his guidance and generosity, I would not have had nearly as many opportunities open to me as I now do. I consider it a true blessing that I was lucky enough to have encountered one of those rare individuals that not only takes the time to teach, but has a passion for pushing others to achieve their full potential. This will be my 3rd summer working at Anaerobe, and I still learn at an incomparable rate. Every day, Mike guides the interns to some new discovery, whether it be culturing bacteria, computer-aided design, or the fine art of making pizzas. It still amazes me that he always manages to find time to answer our constant questions, no matter how busy he is. Mike's patience and dedication to our education is what allows him to exceed the bounds of employer and embody the ideals of mentorship. His primary concern is not that he teaches his interns what will be most beneficial to his company, but instills those life skills that are most valuable to us in the long run, whether it be professional or personal. The goal becomes more obvious with every new workshop and conference he takes us to, and even more so after every patient hour spent teaching the proper garlic chopping technique or the recipe to the perfect frittata. And they're very good frittatas. Yet it's not merely matters of meals and microbiology that makes Mike such an excellent mentor. Due to his commitment to cultivating future leaders, he encouraged me to join YAC, or the Youth Action Council. And it was only after I helped organize YAC's annual Youth Leadership Morgan Hill that I discovered that Mike not only hosts the graduation lunch, but sponsors the entire program in full, as Sherry said. And he's been doing so since day one 8 years ago. And this is but a brief outline. brief outline of some of the wonderful experiences I've had working for Mike. Yet there's something important that you must understand. I am not unique. Mike has had dozens of interns in the past, and I know from his many success stories that he has an impact on their lives several years down the line. I believe that this is possible because Mike is a fantastic gardener. He understands that the legacy of a leader is found in the self-sufficiency gained by his students. So he plants us firmly in the fundamentals, showers us with encouragement, but in the end he steps back and watches us grow. And I would now like to close this speech by saying thank you to Mike for everything you've done to me. And there's a thank you from the Youth Action Council that I would also like to give you.
And he looked really down and depressed, and I just turned to him and said, hey Dad, what's wrong? And he said, you know what, all these things I was great at. I was great at skiing and you beat me at that. I was great at cooking and you beat me at that. And I was great at automation and robotics and you beat me at that. I got nothing left. And I just turned to him and said, you know what, you should have made it so interesting. And that put a big smile on his face. But then it quickly turned to a frown, and he turned to me and said, and you just beat me at diplomacy. And that put a smile on my face.
Well, that would be a tough act to follow. But I want to thank you all for attending tonight, because it really means so much to our family that you're all here to celebrate with us and to celebrate these accomplishments. And tonight, I want to share with you some of the words of wisdom that I've gotten over the years. Because the dad phrases are the things that really help keep me going. The road of life is really rocky. And when something didn't work out for me, my dad would always tell me, there are two types of experts in this world. One that has never made any mistakes, and the other that has made every mistake and learned from it. And I'm trying to be the second type of expert. He also said, the measurement of joy is the distance between your lowest place and your highest place. And so I knew when things were looking really bad, I was about to be elated when everything finally resolved. Always the engineer, he said, if at first you don't succeed, get a bigger hammer. And finally, the reason that we're here tonight, and something that's really at the core of his personality, is if you like where someone is going, buy them a gallon of gas. Here tonight have definitely burned brighter because he bought them a metaphorical gallon of gas. But to grow a business, to be a pillar of society, to make a positive impact on the community around you, requires a great deal of insight, compassion, and organization. And behind every way my dad has given back to the community has been my mother, and tonight it's really important to honor her as well. She was a co-inventor on the first patent anaerobe systems held. She stepped in when the company was just an office in a garage. And she has been tirelessly putting together dinners for trainees, outreach programs, and fundraisers. And with her, no stone is unturned, no cup is dry, no guest unwelcome. A leader in her own right, she is the greatest champion of dreams, but boldly asks, can we make this even better? The 41 years of partnership between my parents and between my mother and father, have undoubtedly enriched the world around them and been a most precious gift in my life. So tonight, I think we should all raise a glass and toast this leader and his co-captain.
Everything you hear tonight, everything you'll read in the program about Mike, you will notice that Mary is right next to him every step of the way. you cannot honor Mike without honoring Mary. And so Lori's right on it. Thank you, Mary, for all you do to support and keep Mr. Mike on track. Okay, it's time for the medal ceremony, so I'm going to call up the past winners. Please hold your applause till I get through the whole list. 2003, Roger Knopf. 2004, we have George and Jean Guglielmo. 2005, we have Mike Rubino. 2007, Dennis Kennedy. 2008, we have Sherry Hemingway. 2011, we have Mike Johnson. And 2012, we have Rosie Bergen. Come on up to the stage. And Adam. I'll turn the mic back over to Adam Ferguson, President of Leadership, to present the medal.
Thank you, Steve. We've heard from friends, we've heard from family. Mike is certainly deserving of this award. Mike couldn't be more deserving of this award. We heard he's a leader, he's a mentor, he's a philanthropist, a chef. He's got an anaerobe named after him. But if I can give you one example from tonight of why Mike deserves this award. If you saw at the silent auction, he donated 3 items. We're here to honor him. He donated 3 items, one of which is hosting a 50-person dinner at his home. So thank you, Mike. Come on up. Mike, you exemplify what a true community leader is. You are a real asset to our community. It is my distinct privilege to bestow this honor upon you. Thank you.
I just really want to thank all of you and thank leadership for this incredible honor. I have to apologize a little bit because I think you probably already realize I had a whole lot of fun doing all this stuff. so I don't know if I really should be getting any such things, but I really want to say thank you to Anna Espinosa. I have to tell you that, you know, one day Mayor Tate said he needed to see me in my office, and Roger Knopf was coming over, so they came over. I don't know what's going on here. And then I saw this very professionally dressed lady walking in. I said, "Whoa, I wonder what's going on here. What is she, an attorney or something?" And then I looked up and I saw Rosie Bergen walking in, and I said, "I know what's going on." But it was really a shock, and a wonderful shock. So I want to thank the honorary and the working committees, because they've just done a spectacular job. And I want to really thank this incredible assemblage of chefs that put together dinner. I've really gotten to the paella, so and certainly I want to thank Laura and Steve and my wife Mary, because through this whole thing, you wouldn't believe the number of assets that are in the company that we use every day to run the company that they built from scratch. Certainly want to thank Steve and Jennifer Tate, Roger and Janie Knopf, Sherry Hemingway, thank you. And then Ellen Jo Barron, I want to thank you for coming in. We've been lifelong colleagues. And Diane Citron, wait, stand up, Diane, so they know who you are. She actually was the one that named that bacteria Peptonephrolus cocci. And I have another story, or I have a couple of stories to tell both about Ellen and Diane a little later. And the other person I want to recognize, because we really have a mission to try to get anaerobic microbiology taught at the university level. And Dr. Tracy Rossetti from Santa Clara University is now one of the 3 universities in the United States that will attempt to teach this very difficult subject. I really want to take a moment to thank my staff at Anaerobe Systems, the ones that are here. Would you just stand up for a second? And that includes you, Nick. Leadership Morgan Hill, I think, is an incredible program, and you know, I kind of heard about it, and Mayor Tate was talking to me about it, and you know, most of these things I don't have time about that kind of stuff, and so he just kept after me, and finally I said, okay, I'll go to your Boy Scout camp, and after I got into it, I started seeing a whole lot more depth than. I started learning things I didn't even know existed, and so I met a lot of really nice people, got more involved in the community, and I can tell you there were multiple great opportunities that are direct results of all of this network that you suddenly acquire. But just a little bit about the business side. I'm a medical microbiologist, and for about the first 20 years of my career, if we tried to do an anaerobic culture, it's about a 70% failure rate. And it usually failed when the doctor was yelling the loudest. And so I came up with a theory. I said, anaerobic bacteria don't like oxygen. So I said, if that's the case, then you know we were taking them out and working on them on a bench, and we'd stick them back in a jar. Depending on how long we were coffee, that would vary, and you know. So I said, I'm going to make procedures to completely get oxygen out of the procedure, and I did that, and everything just became totally easy. So I was working at Stanford at that time. I was a scientist, and so I went out and shopped it to all the microbiology companies, and I got a uniform response, is that I can show you a trail of dead bodies that tried to get into anaerobic bacteriology, and we're not going there. So after complaining about this over and over, you know, Mary finally said, if no one's interested, that also means you have no competition. So why don't you just start your own company? So that was 35 years ago. So I want to just make a comment. I'm being honored for leadership, but so I'll play expert on leadership tonight. But leadership starts with getting involved. And getting involved, in my case, was something kind of interesting, because I developed the technology, had done some little in-training service things at some of the local hospitals. And then Diane and her crew down at UCLA were putting together a big workshop, 2-day workshop at UCLA. And I was down talking to him, and I said, well, I got a station wagon, and I'll come help you move the boxes. So I went down and helped move the boxes, and then helped them unpack the boxes and help them put things away. Well, you know, this is like the second big one I think you've done. And these were big, they were a lot of work. So I could pre-anticipate what they're going to need next, and that sort of have this stuff out there and waiting on the next thing. And so at the end of the thing, they said, well, you're going to be on the faculty next time. So you understand that a station wagon and carrying boxes involvement moved to the next notch. So then we did a workshop at San Jose State, and then we did a week-long course at UC Berkeley, and then we got an invitation to do an advanced class at Stanford, and Diane and Ellen were both on that faculty. And Ellen asked me to include physician from Lille, France as a guest, and I did, and I barely said hello to him, but nevertheless, a week or so later I got a letter from him saying, would you mind, or would you be willing to do this class at the Pasteur Institute? And we said, yeah. So we went over to Lille, France and did a 3-day workshop there, got a chance to tour through the Champagne region, and we went to Krug. You know, Krug Champagne is probably the best champagne in the world. And we went there and they said no tours. So we were standing outside and this guy walked up and said, you look lost. And he said, we are lost. They don't have tours. We're trying to find a restaurant. And he said, well, what are we doing? We said, well, we were doing this class at the Pasteur Institute. And he said, I got about 20 minutes. You want to step inside? And so we stepped in, and Ellen's husband, Jim, said, well, I'm Jim Taylor. And he said, I'm Henri Krug. So he went in and poured us, opened a bottle of champagne, and his sister made lunch reservations at a nice restaurant. So yeah, again, you understand that all this hard work has been a lot of fun. At any rate, after that, literally invitations came, and with the group of us has been all over the world doing workshops, and it's a wonderful way to go, because when you get there, you're actually a guest of, you know, not just a tourist, you're really a guest of people. One of the other things that I would be remiss if I didn't mention, because our mentor, Dr. Sidney Feingold, has very, very strong evidence that an anaerobe causes autism, and has been totally unsuccessful in getting funding for, what, 17 years now? So if you want to see something on it, just Google Feingold, F-I-N-E-G-O-L-D, autism, and there's a 2-hour video there that's very compelling. So the other passion that I have is, you probably all know that anaerobic bacteria made all the petroleum on Earth, and they still know how, and they do it very fast. So one of the things we're doing is we're working with George Kiala and other people to take their food waste and their manufacturing waste and convert it into hydrogen, which then can be made into electricity. So when we ferment, we get the hydrogen and the CO2 out of the top. That's the part that light put in. And what's left in the pot is almost a perfectly balanced organic fertilizer that's sterile. So this is sustainable agriculture, and would actually even lead to a healthier planet. So I really want to thank all of you for this incredible honor, and I want to really thank you for your support of Leadership Morgan Hill, because this is a program that's making a difference in the community and in the lives of our citizens. Thank you.